Okay, guys, today we're going to talk about short squeezes, about how short squeezes happen, about how we can scan for them with trade ideas and try to find them before they happen, kind of what's going on in the background. So, how does shorting work? Right? We know that if we're shorting something, you're basically betting that the stock is going to go down. So, you're selling it at whatever the current price is right now, and you're hoping to buy it back later as things kind of pull back. So, in the background, what happens though is when you click the button to short your shares, your broker then has to go find those shares somewhere and give them to you, right? So you get the shares and then you sell them on the market. So what happens after that is you owe your broker back those shares. So they've lent you shares, you're paying interest on the shares that you got, and eventually you got to pay that broker back. More or less, that's the whole concept of shorting. Now, so then how does a short squeeze happen? Well, a short squeeze happens when the price of the security that is heavily shorted rises. So what happens in the background? Well, say I'm short GameStop at $20 and I have a $10,000 account. If GameStop goes any more than double its price, I not only lose money, but I lose more money than I have in my account. The broker doesn't ever want to be on the hook for that money. So what they will do is as GameStop is increasing and as it gets to the point where, okay, you can't physically buy this stock back to give to us because you don't have any money, we are going to buy it for you. And they just send out a market order and they buy your stock. Now, when that happens en masse, what happens is the price that buying, because they're not doing it for you at a good price, they're not doing it, they're not working in and out. What they're doing is they're just buying it at whatever price they can get. That buying pressure pushes the stock up further, which triggers more people in on other brokers to force them to cover. And then the price goes higher, then another person will have their broker buy their shares. And as these things are happening more and more, it's just pushing the price up, not necessarily because people are interested in buying the stock, but what's happening is it's ripping up through these orders and causing brokers to then, continue to push the price up through this artificial buying loop. And what can happen is this can really snowball, as we're seeing here on GME. This chart is actually a little bit dated when I get to show you how to scan for these before they happen. You'll see it's 250 last time I looked. So these can get dramatic and insane when it gets to the point that large institutions that were short this stock also have to cover. There's a brief moment in history around 2007, 2008 where Volkswagen, I think Volkswagen or Porsche was just worth an insane quantity of money because a couple of these hedge funds had to liquidate when they had to liquidate. So that's basically the anatomy of the short squeeze. It's people's brokers making them cover, and by making them cover, it makes other people cover, that makes other people cover, and the buying goes on and on and on. How they start is generally good news. What we're seeing a lot now is almost attacks from the internet that are starting this ball rolling, and then it just kind of continues from there. So the beauty of this is companies and brokers have to every 2 weeks report how many shares are out there short. Trade Ideas captures this information for you, so then you can then go add it to your scan, so you can find stocks, for example, that are moving higher and have a high short float. You can find stocks, for example, that are just maybe increasing in volume at the time and have a high short float. Here you can see this table that we have that I will link down below in the description for people who are already Trade Ideas members. If not, a link is down there to go pick it up, and then you can come back and copy that link in, and you'll have this scan. Is a scan that Steve and Andy over at Trade Ideas call the A table. It's essentially looking for stocks that score very, very highly on our stock ranking system, but are also incredibly, incredibly short. So what I did here is I kind of rewinded back January 13th when GME was down by this pink arrow. and showed that it was at the top of this list. Does that mean it's always going to do stuff like this? Absolutely not. This is an insane case, but it just shows that you can scan for these things. You can add to your own trading system to say, hey, I only maybe want stocks that are heavily shorted, so that I can make sure that I am never against the side of the shorts that may get squeezed, because I know there's that potential catalyst that could occur that could lift the stock that I'm interested in higher. So we're going to do a case study here on GME. So here is trade ideas. And here is, I just wanted to show you guys kind of what's happened after the fact here, where it is now, 220. Again, it was 250 before I record it. So here is another version of that same A table, one that I like to use myself, that looks for stocks that are still kind of not yet moving, but still have a high short float. So BPYU has a 42% short float, $17 and coiling right here. So again, you can add these to any currently existing scans you have. For the people who are already members of Trade Ideas, by right-clicking in any window that you want to modify. Under this search tab, just type in short, and you'll see that we have a short growth, which is how much is this short float growing over time, the short float, and then we also have one called cover. And this is, I just want to take a second to talk about this one. So this is days to cover. So what this does is, say, for example, there's 1 million shares short in the market, and the stock does on average 100,000 shares a day. Well, it would take 10 days of buying, of every transaction being a buy to cover, in order to roll out that short position. So this is a good way to find out, really takes the short float and the volume into consideration, and then gives you this number here. So again, links are in the description below. Go check out the product. If you already have it, take a look at adding short float to your scan. It's always been one of my favorite indicators to watch. And of course, with what's going on now, it's even further up.